All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So honestly, I don't do this a lot anymore on these videos, but I've always said, for real, when I'm making moves, I need to know what the major markets are going to do before I kind of do them, right? And remember, I've said it a number of times, I don't care how hot a sector is, I don't care how meme power a single stock, like no individual stock is greater than the markets, all right? And there were a lot of juicy setups. There was a lot of good things that I think wanted to happen today. It didn't. And I want to talk about the markets because honestly, I think it was just more today's bad candle, right? So we'll do what we always do, but again, we're going to look at the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, as well as their ETF equivalents, all right? So what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, because again, for real, I don't care if it's a major market or a penny stock, we do the same things, all right? We're going to look at the daily and the weekly to see how this thing is setting up short term. We do have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines, and then when we're done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can please like, subscribe, share, comment, it really does help me, and you know, thank you for sure, but just being here and giving me your time is super appreciated, all right? And there's a little bit of vacuuming going on in the background. I hope that's not messing up the audio here, okay? So look, let's get going. And again, there's a couple things I've said on a number of videos when I talk about basic stocks. The exact same thing happens here. Look, the day after a doji is generally pretty telling. And I'll be honest with you, I was hoping we were going to do the opposite of this and drop a fat 1% up. And I know 1% seems insignificant, but those are big candles on a major market, all right? So look, we've now slipped under the 8. That's definitely not a good thing. And look, I think that got reflected on a number of stocks today. But look, I still see a lot of really good things, right? This 50 moving average is still going up. This 20 moving average is still going up. The 100's actually still going up. You know what I mean? So we have escaped this moving average cluster, it looks like, okay? We still haven't run a super hard RSI, so I'm kind of surprised we had this much of a reaction when yesterday RSI was only at 60, right? Generally 80 is where it's bad, and you can see it's literally been in this like 80, 70 range for a quick minute not that long ago, right? So definitely not what I expected, and I'm not going to, I'm not pretending that that's not the real answer to me, you know what I mean? But yeah, nonetheless, like, am I worried? No, because again, I always say good things happen over the 8 and the 20, right? I'm sad we lost the 8. I'm sad we lost this 50%. I'm sad we lost this full candle. I'm sad we're roughly at 50% of this candle, but end of the day, we're still over the 20. I'm cool with that. Honestly, I am. Now, if we lose the 20, yeah, I'm going to start getting a little worried because, yeah, MACD looks like it's kind of looking a little odd. Like I said, RSI made a little bit more of a dip than I expected. None of the volume days have actually smashed either, right? So, you know, overall, there's a general concern, but end of the day, we're still over the 8 and the 20. We're still, for the most part, over 4, about at least the 5 moving averages. You know, I'm not necessarily worried. Let's see what the weekly looks like. Now, maybe I'm a little worried, actually, okay? Because now what I'm seeing is, hey, the weekly is actually at a pretty big test. Now, mind you, it's still early in the week, right? So let's see what happens. And again, we're actually still above the 8 on the weekly, but getting over the 100 moving average is not easy on the daily. It's not going to be easy on the weekly. And in all honesty, I always kind of think it's a little bit harder for an index than it is for a single stock, right? Because with an index, you need all 500 stocks in the SP500 to do well, right? So, or the average to at least better out, right? But again, that's just my little kind of theory there, right? But yeah, I think getting over 4,200 is might be difficult, and really quickly, obviously, like it's by no means a real comparison, right? But Tilray had a hard rejection on the 100 moving average, and you can see what happened after, right? Am I comparing Tilly to the SP500? No, right? But on the weekly, look, we need to get over this 100, or for real, we actually might come back down to 4,000. And again, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's actually a little bit more than this. It's basically 2%, or a little bit more than 2%, right? Because that's 90. If I double it up, like we're talking about going down, that's actually almost 3%. Again, those sound like little numbers, but those are big movements. You know what I mean? So interesting 100 on the weekly for sure. So let's take a look at SPY. I'm assuming I'm going to see the same thing, and I do, which I like, right? Because again, SPY is the ETF equivalent, right? Seeing the same thing here. I'm still seeing all the bigger lines go up. I'm happy with that. On the weekly, again, we're testing this 100, right? So makes a lot of sense to me for sure, all right? Let's move over to the DJ30, the Dow Jones, all right? Look at this. This is actually not looking good. Seeming like we couldn't get over this 20 moving average and are now kind of coming our way down to maybe this, right? So again, SP500 and Dow Jones not doing well. Makes sense that a number of stocks that are not tech heavy are not doing that well, right? So, and you know, I've kind of noticed when the major markets don't do that well, that's when you're going to start seeing these like random 100% gainers and stuff. Like it's just silly movements, right? So try not to chase the dragon. I do talk about that on a number of those videos, right? But this is not a good setup on the DJ30. What does the DIA look like? Again, the DIA is the ETF, right? And you can see the exact same chart, right? So little scary on the DIA and the Dow Jones for sure. Again, this is kind of giving me a 326 potential as a low side. This is giving me a 327 potential as a low side, right? So that actually might be the case. And again, if that's the case here, you know that's going to be the case here, right? 327, but in the thousands. 326, but in the thousands, right? So again, I'm loving the fact that they're looking the same. I'm obviously a little disappointed that they're not looking good, right? But again, these two I'm a lot more worried about. No, not NASDAQ. Sorry about that. Comp Q, baby. Okay, again, I've been very, very tech heavy. I have not been lying about that. Look, this is at least still well over the 8. I'm still seeing the 8 and the 20 still go up. You know, again, most of my money is definitely in these kind of stocks, right? AI stocks is really what I'm heavy on. I'm not going to lie, I actually kind of swooped up a couple of these EV stocks that are starting to look a little juicy, right? So am I worried just yet? Look, I'm not. I think now that I know a little bit more about, because I'll be honest, I don't think I was really looking at the Dow Jones and S&P that well, but now that I know that those are slipping, hey, I'll be honest, I'm maybe a little worried that we come down to like 12.3 here, but truth be told, I still think we're actually above this 12.25 line and we're going to hold it. Obviously, I know we're above it now, right? But what I'm saying is I'm hoping we at least bounce on this orange line, not this white line. Because again, I've been making these videos for a long time and I've put nothing in between these since I started roughly June of last year. You know what I mean? So it really is pretty big that we like crop. But look, you can see it, right? We came under this thing a few times only to come back, right? So it's important to see if we actually hold this as well as I want and hopefully keep going to that 13. Otherwise, again, if NASDAQ starts to slip, as much as I love AI or whatever, I'm going to be very, very worried, right? And let's be honest, I haven't even talked about it. It's shit. I can't believe we're 7 minutes in. There's a lot of looming like debt ceiling and, you know, stuff like that. Look, I'm not here to pretend I know a lot about that. I just know every time I've heard something like this, they've raised it. Right? Someone closes their eyes and does their magic number bullshit and like, yeah, debt ceiling's raised, right? So I don't know if for real we're not going to do it and we're actually going to default and like all those, like I'm not here to talk about that. I'd love to know if you have any real thoughts on that, right? And I kind of regret only bringing this up at the 8-minute mark, but yeah, that's definitely going to be big, and I'm sure that these are maybe some of the looming questions that are driving this, right? But again, QQQ, which is essentially the NASDAQ's reverse, you can see it, exact same chart here. I'm not sure if I looked at the weekly on NASDAQ, but here's what it looks like here. We're expecting the exact same thing, and interesting, not actually. So this one's under the 100, all right? QQQ over the 100. Now, again, this was the first break. I was hoping for a better confirmation. We haven't necessarily done that yet, but actually a little interesting to see that those two are not quite as identical as that. So I think that's a little interesting wrinkle to note right there. But yeah, again, I think today was a lot more about the market's reaction than it was anything to get worried. However, if some key lines are lost here, that'll be bad. And then obviously if this debt ceiling talk gets a lot scarier, that'll do some other stuff too. So yeah, haven't talked about these in a while. So let me know what you think. Otherwise, hey, thank you.